All right, welcome everyone. We got another special guest today. It's my man Will Harris of the Detroit Lions. He's in the building. Will, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
Appreciate
thanks
it.
for making the time. I know the season just ended, so mixed emotions. I'm sure it's always got to be nice after a long season, a lot of hard work to take some downtime, relax, refocus. Obviously, on a nice note too, beating the Green Bay Packers in the last game. So congrats. That's not an easy team. Number one seed in NFC North just overall. So
Yep.
cheers, nice work. And if you wouldn't mind, give me a little bit of background because again, my podcast is sort of poker focused, but dive out into a lot of different verticals and areas. Maybe just kind of give a little give me your life in like 2 minutes, basically what I'm asking. Tell me a little background, then I'll hop in and ask some questions. Let's start with that.
Yeah, man. So, once again, thanks for having me. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Went to school at North Gwinnett High School in Georgia and Gwinnett County. Got recruited to a number, three or four. Only had like three or four offers. Ended up kind of falling in love with BC, with Boston College. Went there and had a hell of a time. Met some of my best friends to this day. Had a lot of football moments, a lot of great football memories. Then was blessed enough to be drafted in the third round by Detroit, and Detroit's been my home ever since. So yeah, like you said, around this time, uh, it's good to kind of have some time off. But at the same time, as a competitor, as a football player, you kind of want to be still lacing up the cleats and strapping on the pads around this time, around playoff time. So that's the goal, long term. And yeah, so we're gonna sit, chill for a minute, and kind of bring everything back, and take some time to just relax, and then get back to work, for the grand picture. So
That's awesome. And I have so many questions. It's so interesting to become an NFL player. I mean, it's honestly, obviously you hear the stuff. I'm sure your parents or friends growing up and coaches and people tell you how hard and how unrealistic that is, right? Like even the top level, top players and the the math better than me, what percent actually make it to a professional. So,
right,
first of all, congrats. I mean, that's amazing. And I
thank you,
guess
thank you.
where I want to dive in and start is when was it ever a goal to be in the NFL, or I should say a realistic goal? Because you're in high school, tell me, were you like the top guy in the area? Were you when did you sort of blossom, and when was it an actual reality you thought you would be? Because of course everyone believes
Right,
it's playing, right? They're like, I love football, I want to
right.
be a professional. When were you like, man, like, and people actually took you seriously that you could be NFL prospect?
Right, right. I've always wanted to play, to play in the NFL ever since I was young. My father actually played in the NFL for a number of years as well.
Wow.
So, kind of taking that from him, at a very young age, also being, the firstborn, I kind of, I don't know, I kind of gravitated towards that, and it's kind of something. And it doesn't even have to do with necessarily football. It just has to do with, something that my father did and made it to the ultimate level. So that's it could have been anything, and I would have wanted to follow in his footsteps. So that's kind of number one. And then having played football for so long, through the ranks, I just you go from playing for fun, and you know freaking preschool, elementary, middle school, you're playing just for the love of for the love of the game, and it's when you hit high school, people start telling you left and right that hey, around 10th, 11th grade, like, hey, like you could be like you could do this on the next level, meaning college. Like you can do this, you can do this. You start hearing this left and right. You start seeing some of your older colleagues or some of your older friends start, getting offers and going on recruiting visits. And then you just kind of you meld into that world and you start to, you focus on that world of like, how do I do that? How do you just keep your head down and keep kind of grinding? Like, how do I get there? How do I get there? So for a long time, the NFL wasn't even in my sights. I just wanted to get to play college football. I wanted, to be, on a college game day. I watched college football every weekend with my father and my little brother. You all used to sit around the TV and watch football, man. And, I just wanted to be on a college game day. I used to be on, those big, CBS, Fox, whatever we were playing on ESPN. I used to always wanted to be, on those networks, playing, in prime time. So that was my number one goal, right? And then you get to college, and then you start, your colleagues start, getting drafted and, making teams here and start making plays, on the next level. And you're like, man, like, if I just keep my head down, man, I know that guy, I know him and I know that I can do it, if I just, keep my head down. So it was kind of a, progression. That's all that to say it was definitely a progression over, over the years,
And,
definitely
and
different stages.
but like when you were at Boston College, because it's a strong program. It's a Division I big university. Was it? Did you have a point where you kind of like had a growth spurt, or you just like had a great season, or was it like when did it sort of become where you're like, wow, I actually might get drafted? Like when were you
Right.
like when you realize that? Because it's hard, it's competitive, and even it's just tell me about that process. Because like how many guys from your team got drafted in the NFL from the year you played there? I mean, was there how many actually made it?
Right. So, in my early years, I was fortunate enough to be able to play, as a freshman. But at the same time, like I said, in my freshman year, I wasn't really concerned about, the grand scheme. It's, you fast forward until, about my junior year. And as I'm playing in my junior year, we're starting to beat some pretty good teams. We're starting to, have, consistent, back-to-back games, consistent, good productive seasons, and a lot of this stuff is coming together. And at the same time that that's happening, some of my older friends, one being Justin Simmons, who plays for Denver Broncos. He was a senior while I was a freshman. He ended up getting drafted, and I was like, man, like I was just playing like right next to him, man, and he just went off and got drafted. Now he's doing big things. And then my boy John Johnson, and who is a year under him, he was a junior at the time, ended up getting drafted to the LA Rams. And I was like, man, like the same round, like third round too. And
Yeah.
then lastly, my boy Isaac Yiadom, ended up getting drafted as well. Third round, like DB, like same position and everything. I was just like, I don't know, man, but like I think I could maybe do this. So it was around that junior years when because the whole time scouts will, come to practices and you'll be able to, side talks, here and there between scouts. And then towards the end of my junior year, you know, you got, agents that are, that come along saying, hey, when it's time, whenever it's time, think about this, think about that, let's think about working together, this and that. And that's when I started realizing, like, okay, you know, people are taking me seriously. People are ranking me, in these, position rankings around the country, and you get graded, um, relative to everyone else in the country, and you're like, all right, well, I think I could do this. I think I could, for sure make a career out of this, and it's something that I've always wanted to do since I was young. So, why
And
not put the pedal to the metal?
that's amazing. Did you, when the agents start coming and talking, how did you have, I mean, you said you had some friends and contacts a little bit older, so that probably helps give you some, ask them about, what's going on, or what, to say like, hey, how does this work? Or who do you suggest? But was that, did you end up using an agent? Do you have one currently? And what was that process and that selection like?
Yeah. So the agent, I have now, I've known for, uh, since I was right about to come out of college, and yeah. So like, uh, I met my agent through one of my other colleagues, one of my older colleagues, was his agent as well. And so, just kind of hit it off, trusted him. And it was also, a very gleaming thing that he represented one of my boys who I trusted as well. And I know that makes great decisions when it comes to people who represent him, people who could possibly speak for him or have power of attorney, for him. So I kind of trusted that process a lot. And as I continued once I met him and continued to get to know him over time, it started to really gel well, and I had a good feeling about where I wanted to go. And he's been my agent ever since. So
That's awesome.
does a great job for me. So
Very cool. What do you think, before just thinking on this subject, what about the NIL? I mean, in some ways, are you like, man, this is about time, this is great? I mean, is it a little frustrating that, the history of the NCAA, I don't know, 100, however many years, just after you leave, that maybe you could have benefited from that some? Or do you think that it was almost like not the end of the world because maybe you would have made some money, but it's not a big enough deal? Or do you know people now at BC or places? Like I'm fascinated by that because I would imagine there's a lot of decent deals for guys locally, right? Like restaurants, car dealership, places where they are putting some money in. And you do hear stories about even some full teams getting some deals from certain areas and stuff. So what are your thoughts on that? And is it frustrating, or you're just happy that you're in the NFL now? It's okay because you're making money, and these guys are making money now too, hopefully some. How do you feel on that?
Yeah, man, I'm really right there in the middle of it. I'm between both of those answers, kind of, because it's crazy, man. I don't know. I can't, say for sure, how much I would have benefited, especially, going to at the time, BC wasn't really, we weren't really high in the ACC at the time, or it wasn't, let's call a spade a spade. It wasn't, Ohio State or USC or Alabama. But at the same time, man, it's just that I'm so glad that um, I'm just so glad that players are being able to benefit, from their likeness now. And obviously, that's been a topic of discussion for years and years and years. And to be honest, I'm glad that someone's able to, if not us and not, the ones who came before me, if we weren't able to experience that. I'm glad that this kind of new wave of athletes are able to experience that, because it was just so it was so uneven. It was just so uneven, and there were things that, and even with not only that, but even though the new like the new transfer um, portal rules and regulations, man, it's like, because for a long time, man, you had to, if you wanted to transfer somewhere, you had to kind of sit out, and it a lot of times transferring, there was a big gamble of, if I transfer, I may not ever, like, my whole career may be off the tracks. You know what I mean? Because it
Yeah.
may just take too long for me to restart that, that engine. Um, so, when at the same time, you commit to, a coach or a coaching staff, or, because of this, and that, and their beliefs, and you're like, yeah, like, I want to come here because of, X, Y, and Z. And then you get there, and it's like the whole thing could change in a heartbeat. Someone else could take another job, the whole nine. So I'm just glad that we kind of, even it out a little bit. Give the players and the ones who are putting their bodies on the line every weekend. Give them some agency, in this deal.
I saw you took some official visits. So I played also a sport in college, Division One. I played soccer. I went to University of South Carolina. So it's different. It's not NFL. I'm sorry, it's not football. It's or basketball, which is like the major ones, baseball and college. But it was fun. I got to do some of the official visits, unofficial visits, all that. I think you went to a few places, including unofficial. I think Florida State. You were official visit maybe at was it UConn and Penn State, Syracuse. So you were looking at a few of these schools. What was that process like, and how did you ultimately kind of decide on BC versus the other major universities?
Right. So it all boiled down. My mother actually went to Florida State, so that visit was a very eye-opening visit for me. When I went there, Jimbo Fisher was still there at the time, and yeah, I was just super excited to be on the campus, man. And I was, super excited just to have the opportunity to be there and be on the sidelines for one of their games, man. And I was still young, at the time. And when you're young and you get the idea of something, everything comes off very, very appealing to you.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever's in your face at the moment becomes very appealing to you. So while I was in Tallahassee, while I was on Florida State's campus, I mean, I was like, if they would have offered me, man, I would have probably been on the spot. But at the same time, they did show a lot of interest, but at the same time, they didn't offer me, and that was very eye opening, just as a competitor, because like we all do, I felt that um, I felt that I was as good, if not better, than some of the guys who they were showing supreme interest in, and they were giving offers in. But that's just the business, and that's just that was my kind of my first dose of the business side, or the you don't want to say the political side, but pretty much the business side of sports, is that sometimes it has nothing to do with you. It's about how the team feels and the team needs and what they think is best for them. And so that kind of gave me an extra chip on my shoulder. Penn State was the same thing, showed interest but never offered. So you got Florida State, Penn State, man, and Actually, Pittsburgh did the same thing. For some reason, I went all the way out there, and they were high on me, and it just, some things just fell through the cracks. And so I kind of just took those three instances, those three examples, and just, took them on the chin. And that really made me, that gave me, more, gasoline to put on the fire. When I finally got to BC, I loved BC because they wanted me, and that's the thing that I was looking for in my whole recruiting journey, was someone that's going to be like, hey, I'm gonna, I'm gonna put all the chips in on Will Harris. Like, we want this guy. Like, we need you here. And
Right.
BC is really one of the only schools that gave me that feeling, like that I was wanted there, that I could, make their team, have a role in making the team better. So I went there, man, and never looked back ever since. And of course, was fortunate enough to play Florida State, and made sure I always did my thing against them.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you had a little extra pep in the step in those games. That's awesome. I mean, it's one of those things where I want to know a bit more about like game film, the process too, because now I would imagine analytics is such a major part of so many sports and recruiting and transfers and soccer in particular, right? We'll call it American soccer. World, knows it as football, but so like the recruiting process, just like in anything, is, I'm sure, getting better, but it's got to be a bit ambiguous, right? Because you got a guy, you have a good game in high school or a couple good games, and there's scouts around, and they see you, or maybe you have a bad game and someone's there, or not your best game. So it's got to be a bit tricky for the recruiting process, because there's like 50 or so, maybe, I don't know how many you would say universities, 100, maybe 50. They're like the top 50, in and out, the top 25 to 50. And there's obviously your pecking order where you want to go, but there, like you said, there's politics, there's luck, there's a lot that goes into that. Just like I would imagine for the NFL too. It's a little more refined because there's more stats. But if you're playing at one team versus soft competition versus in your conference, you're in ACC, or if you're in the SEC or Big Ten, right? It can be kind of tricky to know who's, like, these numbers are misleading or all this. So like, how are you? How are you able to kind of process that with that luck factor about who's watching you? I mean, I guess the answer would be you do your best, right? You're always on interview. You're just doing your best. But how are you able to sort of calibrate that in that process? Do you think that is there an issue with that right now with in the football college recruiting? Do you think there's stuff that could be done better, or is it pretty good in terms of being able to evaluate players coming out of high school?
Right. Well, I think just because of the volume of players, I'm gonna kind of speak out of, both sides of my mouth here, with my answer. On the one hand, I get it, because there's such a high volume of players coming out of high school who all want to be recruited, right? And so you have, things like, the ESPN 300, or like the rivals ranked, athlete, profile list. And then you have, all these different, you got 24/7 sports, you got all these different kind of blogs to be ranked on. So you have, thousands of kids coming out, right? And they all want to be ranked. And there's all these camps that you can go to. There's a camp led by Nike. There's Under Armour All-American game. There's Adidas 7-on-7. Like, there's so many avenues to where kids can get, exposure, especially in this day and age where, highlight tapes and stuff like that are all being, displayed on Twitter, Instagram. Like, there's so many ways to be discovered. Just the downside about that is that the volume of it is so high. Like, when I was coming out of high school, and I used to go to some of these camps, like, you go to these camps to compete, right? And used to see some of these guys who are, 4 stars and 5 stars with, offers from everybody in the country. And a lot of times they'd get these, awards for like the top athlete or like the best performer in these camps. And, and then you look back and like, what did they really do? They only really went through a couple of like warm-up drills or like ladder drills. So a lot of this stuff is just like, a lot of this is just, kind of, political in the way they're run, because if you have a 4 or 5 star recruit there, of course you want to, pump those guys up. And it's crazy to see because it never fails. There's always guys every single year, and there always will be guys, who are, not unranked, no star guys, 1, 2 star guys who always come out. You're like, where did this guy come from?
Mm-hmm.
And on one end, it's hard because you can't. It's hard to get your eyes on, for these college teams. It's hard to get your eyes on every single person in every single crack and crevice of the country. But at the same time, there's a lot to be said about how, the rankings and stuff like that are run because really you're talking about, especially out of high school, you're talking about all of these kids being underdeveloped kids. Like no one's the final product of themselves coming out of high school. So we got kids who are, um, at the same time, you have kids who are 4 or 5 stars who are the man in high school, and then they turn out being the man in college, and then there's a man in, the NFL. That does happen all the time. But then on the flip side, you have those kids that were, underdeveloped, in high school, and they're still kind of working out the kinks. They're still going through growth spurts. They're still, you know, physically and mentally developing, and they hit their stride. You know, end up going to a college. Some guys go to the JUCO route and then transfer into, a D1 program or a D2 or D3 program, and then all of a sudden, like these guys are at the NFL Combine, and these guys are like getting drafted, and at the NFL draft, and you're like,
Right.
where did these guys come from? It's like, hey, he's been there the whole time. He just wasn't, you know, a 4 or 5 star recruit that was highly recruited by everybody. So
Right.
it's really tricky, man.
And
You
and
just got. I would say as a player, you just got to keep your head down.
and tell me about, so your college. So now let's say senior year of college, you kind of come down. Your season's over. Like, did you know you were going to be drafted? Did you know you would at least get a look by NFL teams? Like, at what point was it like clear that like you got word, or I don't know how it works. If they contact you, I think I read that the Lions traded a couple picks, like one pick plus another later pick to trade up to get you to have a chance to draft you. So like, how does that work? Were you contacted, or is that allowed, or like did you just know that you were regarded high enough in your position where you were going to get a likely a nod for the NFL draft?
Right. Yeah. So coming once you declare, once you come out of college, no matter if you're a junior or a senior, they kind of have these, they have this, I guess, algorithm, right, of ranking, athletes coming out of college, and you kind of have a broad, before the draft, you have a broad spectrum of, okay, I could either go, third round to sixth round. It's pretty broad, to be honest, when you first come out of college. So like my 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 range was like, I think, from either third to like fifth round, right? I got a third to fifth grade. Some guys get first round grades. Like there's obvious people who are obviously going first round, and they get those grades or whatnot. There's undrafted grades where people say, hey, most likely going to be undrafted here. But that being said, mine was a third to fifth round grade, and that was before having gone to a Senior Bowl, which is just like another bowl game. It's a week where you're just it's in Mobile, Alabama, and it's kids from all schools from around the country, and NFL teams and scouts are all there, and they're just evaluating kids practice and play, in one game, um, for that week. So that was a chance for me to be evaluated as well. The NFL Combine is obviously a great way to be evaluated on height, weight, size, strength, speed, agility, the whole nine. And so just kind of chipping away at those things uh, throughout the off-season process, throughout my NFL draft process, are some of the key factors that contributed, and also meeting with these teams, doing, having meetings with them, having meetings with the GMs, having meetings with the coaches, the scouts, from everybody from the top down, is one of the things that contributed to, me being blessed enough to be drafted, in the third round.
And when draft day comes, are you at home? Are you with friends, family? Like, are you, because you expect to you get drafted, right? Because you were put in the third to fifth round likely spot. So what was your draft day like?
So stressful, bro. I'm not even gonna it's the most you can't, like, no one can prepare you for it, right? Is what I learned. Because, you know, I had all, a couple of my boys, right, who texted me on draft day and was telling me like, hey man, like you're gonna be fine. Just do something to distract yourself because they make the draft. At 7. It starts at 7 p.m. and it goes all the way until like 10 p.m. Right. So all day, like you wake. Of course, that day I woke up at like 6:30, wired. Like I'm up. Like had nothing to do that day, but I was up first thing in the morning, restless, couldn't sleep. I'm just like, man, like you're just wondering. You never know. You don't know. In a snap of a finger, you're gonna be in some city, maybe that you have or haven't been to, right? Around people that you may or may not have, met before, just trying to compete, right, on the next level, trying to, make a name for yourself. So there's a lot of, kind of built-in anxiety, and there's really no way to prepare for it. I was in Atlanta at the time. I had never. It's crazy because I had only been to the Georgia Aquarium like once, right? Going to, I like went to the aquarium and like walked around every like exhibit in the Georgia Aquarium that day to try to like burn time. And even that wasn't enough. Like I did a whole bunch of chores around the house, like things like that. And by the time the draft came, um, there's what 5-10 minutes between each pick that every team is on the clock, and you're just waiting and waiting, and you're seeing guys who you're seeing some of your colleagues who play the same position. You're seeing them get drafted. You're like, all right, okay, here we go. And you start making assumptions, and you start, wondering this or that. So, but at the same time, man, it was dope. It was dope because there's
I'm
no better feeling when your
I'm
name
looking
finally is
right
called.
here at the third round draft. So like literally, so you're there and you're sweating it basically live, right? You're seeing stuff, who's drafted, it's in real time.
Right.
Are you speaking at this point? Like, was there, because the Lions apparently traded up, right, to get you in this
Hmm.
spot? I think they had the 82nd or 88th pick as well. Plus, they
Right.
gave a fourth round. So, like, were you aware at any point here? Like, you're watching it, you see it, so you're like, all right, the 14th pick, the third round, and you're like, oh, the Rams are up. Like, I might go there. I mean, he just got a cornerback, right, for a CB cornerback from Michigan.
Right.
Actually, I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan fan. So, like, are you like, wow, like this could be me? Because I mean, look how close that is in safety versus cornerback. I mean, you pretty aware on what positions are needed on what team? Like, how in tune are you to where you may actually go, or did you know you were at this point going to go to the Lions? Probably.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because uh, for the most for the most part, you're kind of aware of what a general kind of feeling of what every team needs, but at the same time, that can change up so fast. And what's crazy about the draft is that it only takes, one of those picks in the first and second round to be uh, a pick that no one thought would happen, or to kind of set the whole flow of the draft up. Like if cornerbacks, for some reason, if cornerbacks are being drafted now, like in a row, and cornerbacks are going to keep coming off the board, kind of because it's like, all right, well, like there's less and less cornerbacks available. A team might be saying, we got to go get a cornerback here instead of what we originally thought. And I'm not in the front office. I'm not a GM. I can only speculate, but this is,
Right.
that's kind of the trend of
Yeah, I mean,
what
it,
happened.
it, it could even be something like on a team, a guy who's a veteran decides not to return, right? All of a sudden, like the
Right.
guy in the weeks prior, day of, or who knows, it says like, look, I'm not there. Now you got a guy who's got a starting spot is out of the league all of a sudden, in year whatever. I mean, it even happens with like Andrew Luck or Chad Johnson, right?
Hmm.
Guys that are like you kind of they got more to give and they're gone. So like, yeah, something like that could fluctuate. So you're rooting
Right.
for safeties to
Oh,
come
for
off the board,
sure.
right? That's just you're like seeing
For
like
sure.
please like guys like oh wow we're ahead of schedule almost, right? Like oh there's now you're pretty much next. I mean how if they rank you, I think it was like seventh if I'm not mistaken. That's like where you kind of came in at, obviously depending on what a team's looking for or what they're how they rate it, but like was it pretty apparent you were next up, like, or did you jump someone who was supposed to be, or was it pretty in line with sort of how it was supposed to shake out in your mind for that
Right. I mean, right. In my opinion, I think it was pretty in line just because of the information that I was getting from my agent at the time.
yeah.
And also, right before the pick, they'll call you. They'll call you, the phone will ring, and they'll let you know, hey, we're going to take you with this pick. You talk to the front office, the owner, the coach, and everybody in that war room. And, once you hang up the phone, you kind of, that's when you see like the televised, like, a lot of those guys, already know that they're about to get picked. Um, so yeah, and that's when that moment comes.
So,
That
so
moment.
they call you when it's
Yeah.
like, so like number 80 comes off the board, Cleveland Browns. Now there's a certain amount of time, and they call you right then, or they call you a bit before,
Right.
literally like as the picks up.
Right. So when the pick, when the, as they're on the clock, you'll get a phone call and be like, and, at least in my situation, I'll be like, hey, like, we're going to take you with this next pick. And then, and then you'll see, on the broadcast that the pick is in, and, they'll have someone come up and announce, the Detroit Lions with, 81st, overall pick in the draft for like the select Will Harris. And, I had to wake up the next morning and check my text on Twitter and make sure it was still real the next day. But yeah, dope
And,
experience, man.
and when you get drafted now, and also like how big a, like, so let's say at 79 the Rams take a cornerback, and at 83 the Steelers took a cornerback. Like, is that something where you thought, okay, you see the depth chart, or you think maybe one of these teams, like going into the day or as it gets to the third round, or say that that's the position they may be going for? Like, is that is how big a difference is a cornerback to a safety in the draft? Because you can kind of move it around, similar type position, or is just completely different? Like the Rams weren't going to take you there, or the Steelers would not take you there, or is that like, how does that work? How different is that position?
Right. I think, especially when thinking about the draft, every position is completely different. I think that once you start to whenever you get to where you've been drafted, and once they start looking at, the team and seeing, guys' skill sets, is when they can say like, okay, well, this guy's skill set is this. He's more of a, cover safety who can do X, Y, and Z, as opposed to a more zone scheme guy who's, you know, good in, run support and can do X, Y, and Z, But in the draft, it's literally it's broken down by specific positions and what the team needs in that round at that time, and what they think is the best pick for their for that round. So.
Right. So I'm just looking here. I mean, in terms of safeties, so look in the third round, we got DE, wide receiver. We're getting down the list here. There's been no running back, tight end, wide receiver, DEG. So you're the cornerback line. So there wasn't I guess there were several safeties in the first and second round, but there was looks like not another safety taken in this round even.
Right.
Or is that, so that's kind of crazy. I mean, that was that's interesting. Like all other positions, multiple taken. And let's be honest here. Like, listen, I'm a Detroit Lions fan. I am. I have basically three teams. I grew up in Detroit. It was a tough, fun, Barry Sanders, Herman Moore, Scott Mitchell, that whole era. They had some good, good games. And, Barry was fun to watch. And I was a kid, and they were kind of like in and out of like first round playoff team, or, around 500. Been a tough stretch in general, but, also I lived in Baltimore. I'm a Ravens fan. I now live in Miami mostly. And so those are like the three teams I support. I have some affiliation to that I want to root for. For you grew up in Georgia, you played at Boston College. Was it like in your mind? I mean, obviously you're there now and you've been a part of the Lions organization, but what was in a dream world would have been to play where you grew up, or is that maybe too close to home? What was sort of your overall picture on like what you were thinking, and because it could go a lot of ways. These are a lot of different cities,
Right.
Big cities, small markets, big markets. You got friends on some teams, maybe some coaching staff. I think you have at the Lions, right? There's a defensive personnel that was there when you were at Boston College. So that's got to be nice to see a familiar face and know each other. I believe that's at least that's what I understand. Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about that. What's going through your mind? You're just like, I want to get in the show, put me in, get me to the league. I don't care. Or were you kind of looking for certain temes? I mean, I got to imagine everyone has rooting interest for whatever. There's a lot of different factors. What about you? What was important? And, tell me about that.
Right. So I kind of, took the approach of looking at it kind of the same way I looked at, my recruitment out of high school. I just wanted to go somewhere that, I was valued in, and, go somewhere that, they would see, my value and what I brought to the table, and would try to utilize me, in any way that, they could, so that I could try to help bring, the team success. And to be honest, and that's where the anxiety comes from, is because you're thinking about it and you're like, okay, well, I know I talked to, this team, and this team, uh, in meetings, or, before, the combine. And I know I sat down with, this GM, or this team president, or this head coach, or this, you know, NFL scout for, all these different teams. And you're trying to figure out, like, okay, yeah, that, the conversation with them went well. I got a certain feeling from, going there and, meeting with them. And, at the same time, before the draft, you have a couple official, visits. They're kind of like, college visits, but you go there, and, it's a good chance for you to sit down and, talk to, the coaches, front office, see the lay of the land over there, kind of, and get the feel for, how they feel about you and how they view you in the draft. And, a lot of times you can get a certain, you know, gauge for, okay, I can see them drafting me, right? So, but at the end of the day, you can do all of that. It's crazy, man. The NFL draft is crazy. You can do all of that um, and kind of have a certain, a list of teams kind of on your radar. Like, okay, they kept wanting to talk to me. This team kept, contacting me. This team wanted to see me again for another workout. Like, it could be one of those teams. And then a team completely out of the blue takes you, and you're like, oh, okay, like that's nice. I didn't see that coming, but I'm excited. You know what I mean?
And was so, and then explain a little further, because I am a football fan, but I'm not, I don't understand the whole process. So once you're drafted, is that like you're moving to Detroit, or no? Do you just go like get an Airbnb or a hotel? You go there for training camp, see if you get picked up, because so is it essentially if they draft you, they have the right. But let's say you didn't make the Lions team, would it have been a likelihood another team was like you knew where you might go look at after, or once the rosters and training camps over, that's it for the season? How does that work? Like, you're not guaranteed a spot, right? You could be drafted the second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round. Look at Brady was the last pick, right, in the sixth round, I believe. And I mean, obviously that's gone pretty well, but like it's I guess I'm trying to understand like so now you're drafted. There's no guarantee, or is there some sort of guarantee being drafted, or some kind of bonus or signing? How does that work?
Right. So, I don't want to say that anything is, guaranteed, but I will say is there's definitely, a trend in the league of kind of, picks, in rounds 1 through 5 for sure are, usually, there for the first year at least. Because there's things in guys' contract, there's signing bonuses, there's, a portion, a percentage of guaranteed money in there. So there's things that, in each guy's, individual, I guess, situation, rounds 1 through 5 respectively, that, that's to take into consideration. Obviously, any round, if a team drafts you, they're obviously showing very much interest, a lot of interest in you, and a lot of they're putting value in your play and your position, on that team. So I'd have to say it's different kind of for everybody. You just got to go in and try your very best, and kind of just do what you've been doing, and everything's going to be new. The scheme's going to be new. The lingo is going to be new. So it's really about who can kind of get in, who can adapt the best, and who can take the coaching and take the I guess the chalk talk from the classroom, and who can apply that on the field the best, and
And
it'll kind of go from there.
makes sense. And so you actually, I think you got officially offered though a contract. Like, so when does the training camp is from when to when? And this was what, 2019? You're drafted in what month? Is it early in the year, or when is it?
Yeah, so the draft was in late April. And then you first go to rookie OTAs. It's just with the rookie. They're kind of like these, you get there, you meet the other rookies, you go to a whole bunch of meetings that pretty much, they're like intro meetings, right? They're like when you go to college, you can take all your intro to dot 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 classes, right? It's like, this is how to um, it's kind of, they'll break it down to the bare minimum of the playbook, of expectations, how they expect things that they expect from you will be very clearly put out there. Um, you know,
Right. Makes
yeah,
sense. And how then? When did you arrive to Detroit? Because I see you signed June 4th, 2019, a contract. You signed a 4-year deal, and that sounds pretty nice, right? Because you get guaranteed like 4 years. That's a good. I think the average NFL lifespan is like 3 years or 2.5 or something. I forget. You could
right.
probably tell me. Is it 3 or do you know?
It's like three. I'd say it's like 3 or 4 years.
So you get it. So that, I mean, what was that like? Was that when you got that contract? I mean, were you that's got to feel pretty cool to like work your whole life, play college, do the combine. It's still not over. You still got to get until the deal is a deal. Like,
Right.
what was that experience like?
No, it was it was dope. Especially, uh, I never came from money or anything like that. But at the same time, I had already um, contacted a financial advisor. I had already hired one at the same time. So it's like they give you, you get a signing bonus in the summer, and then every rookie plays under essentially the same salary their first year. So no matter if you were the first overall pick or if you're the last overall pick, the last overall pick in the draft, your salary, will be the same. It's the signing bonus that will be different, up front. So you get that, in the summer, and then that gives you, a little bit of extra, incentive because a lot of times, this is money that guys have, never, seen before, and with that comes a lot of responsibility as well. It comes a lot of, expectations. I mean, here, the NFL is, yes, it is about, there's a lot of money in it, but at the same time, there's a lot of expectations, with that as well. And that goes for how they expect you to, present yourself, how they expect you to represent the team, how they expect you, to play on the field. And so all of those things, you have to be very professional and serious about.
And tell me about the relationship with Tracy Walker, because he's roughly the same age. I think a year before he was almost drafted the same round, 82nd pick, and he's the safety as well. Like he's from Georgia, I think too. So did you know him growing up, or were you friendly? How was that relationship like to be? Because you two, how many safeties on the team are there? 2, right, or 3?
There's we have about 4 or 5 safeties on the team. Tracy, I didn't know Tracy. Tracy is from Georgia, right? But I'm from the Atlanta area. Tracy Walker is all the like if you go to Jacksonville and just go up until the point that you hit Georgia, to where Florida and Georgia meet on that East Coast region, that's where he's from Brunswick, Georgia. And so I joke about it all the time, like, bro, you're not from Georgia. You're out there on the island somewhere. But, no, he's a great dude, man, and he's a great player. And it was beneficiary for me to kind of I guess shadow him in my first year, right? And to kind of ask him, hey, because you came out in the third round, you were drafted kind of the same area that I was in, same position that I was in. What were some of the things that you experienced in your first year? What are some of the things that I can kind of take from you and learn from you? Some of the things that you wish you would have done differently this time last year, right? So, I mean, and ever since then, man, we just been like I went my rookie year, man. I went over his house like every day for like 2 months straight, right? And so we used to just watch. We used to watch film together. We just kick it, talk about college days together. Kind of that bonding that initial bonding that I think that every locker room needs. You got to meet. You gotta chill. You got to vibe outside of the locker room, man, to really be tight. You know what I mean? Like you spend so much time with somebody in a professional setting that you need that time outside of the building to really get a him. That's something that we developed over years, and like I said, he's a great player, man, and it's been a pleasure to play, next to him. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And what about you compete against Tavon Wilson, Charles Washington, Andrew Adams? and you're competing. What's it like competing for a spot when you know there's a lot on the line? You got bonuses, contracts, your life, basically where you're going to be for the next several years. And it's how is that to like be there, be friendly, but also know that you're competing for this role? What's that like kind of dynamic like with other guys there?
Right. As a rookie, coming in, it was very new, to kind of be, it was a new form of competition, but at the same time, I've been competing, my whole football career, and that's just the name of the game. In the NFL is a constant competition. Not only are you competing with the guys on the roster, but you're competing with guys who you can't see, right? Guys on other teams who are being evaluated, guys, coming out of college who are being evaluated every year. There's a new, batch of guys coming out of college who made a lot of plays in college, right? Who you're competing against, and you're just trying to put your best foot forward, right, in all aspects of your game, and just trying to improve on your game and show the team that you're playing for, hey, this is, my value to the team. This is what I can do on a consistent basis for this team. I love being here, I love playing here. And, with that being said, you embrace the competition. If you're a true competitor and a good teammate, you'll embrace that, right? And just know that, hey, everyone's competing. So there's no point of me worried about, I wonder how they feel about, such and such person. There's no point in that because we're all, number one, you can't control it. Number two, if you're a true competitor, you're gonna lace them up every play, right? And every time you hit the field, it's like, hey, I'm giving my best every time I come out here. So you know, so that way I can sleep well at night knowing that, hey, I left it all out, on the field. And at the end of the day, the chips will fall where they may. But all that being said, I was able to create great bonds and great relationships, and I learned a lot. Most importantly, from all of those guys. Tavon was an older player at the time. I learned a lot from him. Just football IQ, he was able to show me.
Very
Learned a
cool.
lot from
And
Quandre Diggs when he was here. Same thing.
I like the reference where the chips may fall, man. I hear some poker references. I got to ask, do you have any poker experience at all? Have you ever played? Do you play any forms of games? Like, I know it's common when on the plane or around guys at hotel, people like to, generally there's some different types of games, not necessarily poker, but do you have any background in poker or experience?
Right. So I don't know how to play poker. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I do play a lot of blackjack. And I've been slowly trying to see the thing is consistently, right? I don't, and maybe this is a good or bad thing. I don't know, but it's consistently being able to, get to a table and play, right? It's like I'm not there enough, so I have my personal set of rules in blackjack that I think that have been good to me, and if in a certain hand, if they're not good to me, hey, I stuck by my standards, things that I usually do. So I don't know, it's crazy. It's funny because I don't have any background in poker. I love blackjack. Has I've learned a lot over the years just from playing blackjack in a number of different places. Usually it's on vacation, but I'd love to uh, learn more. Especially blackjack can't always be my only game. So I gotta
Yeah, for sure. I'd love
learn
to.
how to
I'm
switch it
happy to
up.
show you some stuff. I know we're in the same area, different parts of the times of the year. So happy to show you. I know Waxman also very competent, great teacher as well. I know have met him, and maybe he'd be. I'm sure he'd be happy to share some tricks. He's a great player. But yeah, very cool. Okay, well, yeah, I like the chip references. That's good. We'll keep those coming. Let's take a look real quick at the roster here. So you get named to the Detroit Lions roster. What is your first thoughts on? I guess, well, a couple of questions, but in Detroit. So like, what did you know about Detroit? Had you ever been there? Did you have any understanding? Cause like I grew up there in Ann Arbor, not far, but Detroit is like really blossomed. Like truthfully, like I think Detroit gets a bad rap, like in general, the city just from there's been a lot of cleanup. Dan Gilbert, what's been done there. It's there's some great restaurants. It's downtown is like actually super nice. But what was your impression when you first got drafted, and how much did you know about the city?
Right. So I had only been to Detroit one other time. We actually played a bowl game my sophomore year there. I think it was the can't remember what company sponsored it, but it was the Quick Lane. It was the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit, and we played Maryland in that game. We won that game. That was the only time we stayed in Greektown in downtown. Uh, I forgot what hotel. I think we stayed at the Greektown Casino, like hotel area.
Hmm.
We stayed there, man, and that was my only other experience, kind of being in Detroit. And it was, it was a bowl game. It was in the winter. Not many people were, outside. Didn't really get the full feel of what it was. But having been drafted there, when I got there, it was, the summer. So, you go downtown, man, and it was beautiful. I mean, I can never. I had never been to the Midwest really before, and with that being said, I didn't know what to expect my second time around in Detroit. But it was beautiful, man. There was like so many different like vibes, like little little restaurants, little bars here and there that you could just go catch a vibe, like rooftop, like endless rooftop, you know, patios and bars, restaurants that you can go to, bring the friends out, bring the family out, and it's gorgeous down there. I think that Detroit doesn't get enough credit in that aspect. But one thing that I did learn very quickly is that the Detroit Lions as a franchise, man, are a direct reflection of its fans, right, and of its community, and which is a beautiful thing. I mean, Detroit's a very over the years has been a very hardworking, very gritty city, um, and is made up of a whole bunch of people that just put their head down and go to work, and they love their sports there. They love the Lions, and regardless of how they've been in the past, they love their Lions, they love their Tigers, love the Pistons, and the Red Wings. It's like it's a beautiful thing because the fan base there has never shown any signs of quit, and that's a direct reflection on the city, and that's beautiful in itself to be a part of something like that and to be that culture, that Detroit culture, that tough culture, you know uh, is very much prevalent in the locker room too. So
It's
I think that's sick.
it's true, and I mean it's interesting because like the Lions, I feel like they have, yeah, I mean obviously they've had some tough recent years, but also like looking at this last year, man. I mean I followed along. I was checking in as much as I could, and I try to watch games and stuff, but you can just see even from the start, even the preseason, like these games were close, man. I mean that's got to be an
Right.
emotional. I remember the coach breaking down and crying, but there were a lot of 2 point games, 2 point game here. You see, within a touchdown, maybe one got a tie with the Steelers, lose by a field goal to the Browns, 2 points to the Bears, 2 points to the Vikings. I mean, there, and then get a win versus the Packers at the end. Obviously, they were, they had clinched, but still like beating a tough
Right.
team. So I mean, you look at the record and you're like, oh, it's pretty not an amazing season, but also it could easily have gone a few different ways. I mean, there's some real. It's like not like it's like getting routed in games. So like, tell me about what that was like to first of all I mean, it's got to be difficult, right? And this you lose one early, two, a couple close ones. It's frustrating, but as it goes and it kind of becomes a theme. What was sort of like the overall morale and thought process and there, and how hard was that to lose some of these close games consistently?
Right. I mean, it was tough. It was tough. Just as competitors, man, you wanna you work hard all week and you wanna leave it all out there on a Sunday, and you want to come out with those wins, man. It's so hard to win. No matter who you are, it's so hard to win in the league, and they're all very precious. So at the same time, you want to come out with those wins, but at the same time, they were great learning opportunities for us. Just knowing how delicate, um, just knowing how delicate every single situation and every single um, drive. And to be honest, like it's the little things. It's always the little things, right? So you look back on it and you're like, okay, like this, you know, one drive in red in the middle of the third quarter, we could have, came out with that win here, or it could have been, the last drive. What could we have done differently to get off the field on third or fourth down here? And I think when there's that communication and that amount of honesty, and transparency within the team, that we have, it forces every individual to kind of look back on himself and be like, what could I have done to help us come out on top in that game? And if and you got a whole locker room of people doing that, that's amazing, man. Especially in an age of in the world of where everyone wants to kind of run away from responsibility, run away from blame, man. To have front office and a coach to be like, hey, this is on me. I take the full brunt of this of why we didn't come out on top. That being in Dan Campbell, man, he's the man. He'll come out and be the first one to say, hey, it's on me. And to be able to have that and then follow it up by having every player to a man in the locker room saying like, hey, like damn, man, I could have done this. And it's like, nah, man, well, I could have done this like better. And to everyone, to a man is going back and evaluating himself and saying like, hey, like, this is what I could have done better. And so as the season progresses, as we started to play better and better, and gel even better and better together as a team, that was apparent, towards the middle and towards the end of the season when we were able to come out on top, of some of those games. So I think that, at the same time, on one hand, you want to come out with those wins, especially earlier in the year. You want to come out with some momentum. At the same time, that coming out on the other end of some of those games allowed us to learn tremendously from those.
Yeah, I bet. And tell me, my dad actually, so he's again, been worked for Ford 30 plus years, retired. He loves Michigan sports as a whole. The Lions has been frustrating for him because, for so many years and just hasn't seemed to quite click, but he does kind of feel like a revived, renewed energy. Even his question is, a lot of people are this is what he writes. A lot of people are skeptical of the Detroit Lions because their history of futility. What do you tell people when they say this? What is it like playing under the new regime with Dan Campbell as head coach? He seems like he's different. That's what my dad says. So what is that new mentality? Do you feel a shift? You kind of alluded to it already. People are taking ownership. People want to win. I mean, if we look again at the schedule here down the stretch, kind of after the game here, we tie with the Steelers. You lose a close one, could have gone your way. Lose two there. I mean, it's like you're right there. Then you get a win, one game, whatever out of hand. Then you actually blow out the Cardinals, who are one of the best teams in the league this year. Close game against Falcons, and then you win against the Packers. So like it seems like almost kind of around this stretch here, there was like the last, call it 2, 4, 6, 8, the last half of the season almost. It seems like things were starting to click, and you were getting right there. Is that do you feel momentum for next year? Are people excited? I don't know. Does he have a contract or renewed? Like, is he the head coach? Is that solidified? Like, how much certainty is there for next year, and how much are you kind of like up in the air about?
Right. I'll tell you this, and one thing's for certain, and I say this with the utmost confidence is that the players here, everyone here, the players want to be here. The players want to play for Coach Campbell, man, and this whole organization and this whole front office, man, and that's something that we got a locker room of a whole bunch of unselfish guys who are willing to put in the work and are ready to keep their head down. Just put their head down and keep grinding, just keep chipping away. And I think that like you said, that was apparent in the second half of the season when we really started to click. And we're definitely taking that momentum right into the off season and trying to carry it right into next year, and so that we could just pick up right where we left off, but even better, in all aspects. So with that being said, everybody to a man is super excited, man, about next year. And I know that one of the most common, I guess, comebacks or that you could hear from someone, from a Detroit fan or someone who's been in Detroit for a long time or been a Detroit Lions fan for a long time is, kind of we've heard this before, right? And that's kind of been a narrative around Detroit for a long time. I don't know how, much I could, I don't know, how to kind of articulate, the fact that this will be different, but just knowing that, a true Detroit Lions fan, someone that, that's really rocking with us, which most, which all of the fans are, man, there's a feeling, especially if you come to the games, especially if you were able to tune into the games. There's a feeling that you get from this coaching staff, from the guys on this team, that we're about to turn this thing around. It's going to be, it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be super fun, man. Because Detroit has some of the best fans in the whole world, and that's with some of the shortcomings that we've had over the years. So just imagine when things start to when things start to really click for us and start to go in our direction. Because like Coach Campbell says all the time, man, we're in cold, uncharted territories right now, but we're going to somewhere better. We're going to somewhere way better, and it's gonna be dope when it happens.
It's gotta be interesting and also kind of nice, refreshing that he played in the NFL. So he actually is coaching, but he has the experience. He played actually, for a while. He was also almost the exact same pick as you, third round, 79th pick. When he played, I don't know, he played for the Lions for a couple of years too in his career. So, that's it seems like I don't know much about him. I've watched some of the post game interviews and I hear a little bit, and I got a lot of friends who are in, I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan that are there, and he seems to have a good reputation. Like people seem to like believe in what he's doing. He seems very passionate, humble, and just seems like, it feels like they have a good coach there. And that's not always been the case from what I understand. Like a lot of complaints or different things. And again, I'm not in the industry, so I can't say, but it does seem like he's doing the right things and the people are happy he's there. So that's got to be nice because that's a sweat. Some coaches, I'm sure, even at the highest level, they're not enjoyable to play for, or you just don't mesh with or don't like. So that's got to be really refreshing to tick those boxes and that you're happy to be there, right? I mean, that's nice. So, looking forward, the schedule, man. What excites you about next year? I guess the date's already out. I mean, are you eyeing this up? When does film start? Do you get to unwind a little bit? Like, when are you back reporting for duty, and what are you doing in your off season?
So yeah, we don't know right now. The players don't know when we have to report. Usually, there's a time, a phase, kind of in the spring to where guys usually report to their respective teams. We don't know how that's going to go between. That's a schedule that the NFL and the NFLPA have to kind of sort out as far as a solid concrete meeting time for the spring. But yeah, man, looking up and down the schedule, man, there's a lot of teams on there that I personally haven't played yet. There's a lot of new opportunities against some really good teams on there as well for us to show for us to kick off next year with a bang. So I'm excited, and obviously playing in the NFC North, man, that's a blue and black bruiser division, right? You gotta be on your A game, in that division, in any division, but especially the NFC North, man. You got Green Bay in there, you got Minnesota, you got Chicago, all teams who are gonna play hard,
Right.
frankly, every game. So
Yeah, and
that'll be fun.
it's actually kind of a wild schedule where you have like it seems like big stretches at home, right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row at home. Is that even right? Or could these dates?
The, yeah, so the dates the dates right now are to be determined.
Okay.
I guess they flex out some of the games and some of the dates and some of the
Okay.
times. So I think it's just showing the home versus away ones. I think the
Okay.
most that you'll ever have at home or away, I think, would be like 3 that any team
Okay.
will ever
I
have,
was gonna say, yeah, that
home or
doesn't
away
seem
stretch.
normal, although it's just kind of weird. It's like it's not all in a row or not. It's like 2, then 7, then
Yeah.
a handful, and then some. But yeah, fair enough. So yeah, it looks like interesting, good schedule. Nice. It's a nice mix, like you said, some legendary, the big names, and then also some. It's like a reasonable schedule, exciting. And
Mhm.
for you, give me a little preparation, game day versus away. How big a difference is that? In your is it really that much nicer to be at home, or is it kind of fun to go on the road at this point because it's sort of new stadiums, playing and doing that, or do you just is it like, oh man, I want to be in my home and routine and play at home? What do you like more?
Right. So the pros and cons of playing at home versus away. Obviously, home, on third down, man, you're in Ford Field. It's enclosed. so there's something about that field, so something about that stadium, man, that just like it's deafening on third down, right? So you get, that obviously works into the defensive favor a lot of times because a lot of times, it messes with the offense's communication at the line. They got to be able to go on solid count, can't hear, this and that. So yeah, you get, and when we get momentum shifts, you can kind of feel that at home. You get all that home field advantage, love. Uh, but then on the flip side, when you're away, you kind of get that feeling of, hey, like, we're traveling out here to whatever city, uncharted territory. We're all we got. Like, let's go into someone else's house and let's go ahead and take a win, at someone else's house. Kind of playing the villain role, which I love. Which I love doing. That's a sweet part of playing away, and to be able just to travel, to some of these places. Like we went to Seattle. I had never been to Seattle before. It was as advertised. It was cold, very cold.
Mhm.
It was cold. It was a cold, rainy game day that day. It had just finished snowing. So that was, as advertised out there. But just little things like that, man. Because we're players. We love, competing. We love being out there in the field. At the same time, like, we're very much human too. We love to travel and love to see different sites and different, be in different, atmospheres. So
For sure. And I got to ask you about the being you make the adjustment from BC to the Lions, from the college to pro. How would you describe that adjustment from college football to the pros? Like, was it major? Was it like crazy, or was it sort of like, all right, like I've been doing this, I'm prepared, and it's not so different, or was it like wildly different between like even film study, schedule, regiment? Now it's like your whole life. But in BC, you got, there's other stuff. There's school. There's other things kind of going on. There's unknowns, and now you're just focused. You're pro. You're in Detroit, and now it's like this is your mission. How big a difference was that? And how give me maybe the biggest transition that was sort of shocking or difficult.
right. I'd say the biggest thing is the mental side for sure, without a doubt. Is the mental side because you know, you come from college and the first thing you want to do, I guess, when you get on the field is see like, hey, like this kid, like is this other guy who's been in the league for 7, 8 years? He's gonna be faster than me. Is he gonna be stronger than me? Like that's usually not the case. Like guys aren't, because everyone's good and everyone's very talented in their own right. So, if you're fast, in college, you're gonna be fast, in the league. Uh, if you're strong in college, there's going to be stronger guys in the league. But if you're just a strong guy, you're going to be a strong guy. In my you know in my perspective. So, uh, but at the same time, the mental side, man, is the biggest thing because in college, the schemes are more simple to pick up. A lot of times people are doing this no huddle kind of air raid like offense, and they're very it's very up tempo. When you run an up tempo offense, the concepts have to get more simple, just so that you could run on pace and not have to think too much. You can just march down the field, which is a lot of what college is at this point. Um, but when you get to the league, man, it's like some of these offensive coordinators and some of these head coaches, man, have been doing this for a long, long time. And you got Hall of Fame players, future Hall of Fame coaches, in there and everything, especially as a defensive player. Every, the whole, you feel like everyone's, against you. You got the players, you got, the offensive schemes, like the coordinators are doing everything they can do to try to see how they could attack you in different ways, right? And especially with, we got new rules, you know, about we got the targeting rules and different uh, rules like cut block, like you can't there was a situation in the Green Bay game where if this was last year, I think they ran like a crack toss. They just ran a toss to my side, and I was out at corner, and I came down, man, and the running back had a lead blocker, had a big O lineman lead blocker, and if this was any other year, I would have cut down the lineman, right? I would have shot for his legs and been able to take him out and the running back out at the same time. But since that rule changed, obviously being put in to be able to protect guys' knees, which is a smart thing to do. I kind of had to maneuver around him. And, that kind of gives him the upper hand now because he's charging at me full speed. He's already got 100 pounds on me. He's knowing like, hey, like I don't have to worry about this guy cutting me down, right? So, little things like that is, things that you have to be, mindful of. And it's all in the mental and being able to play that kind of chess game. A lot of times you're not even playing against, as good as some of these players are, a lot of times you're not even playing against just the players. You're playing against the players and their offensive coordinator and how their offensive coordinator thinks. So it'd be beneficial for you to know in your week of study, like, hey, not only these are what this list of players who I'm playing, offensive players, this is what they're good at, but also to know this is what this offensive coordinator has had a history of being, good at, throughout his years of coaching. This is what he's done consistently from team to team and from different organizations that he's been in. So.
For sure. What is film study like in the pros? Is it much different than college? Like, are you expected to do stuff on your own, or is it really organized by coaches and group?
So obviously you're not going to school, you're not in college anymore, but at the same time, it's a full day in the building. It's a full day, and you do watch film, and different breakdowns with your coaches, at the same time. But there's only a certain number of hours in a day that you can be in the building, so you go out and practice, and you watch practice, and you critique practice, and kind of clean up practice, and from the time you leave the building to the next day, it's kind of, on you to be a professional and to be able to go home and set aside some time, to take care of your body, and to also get in the film yourself and watch some things that you would maybe not have watched in the building. Some specific things like these are all of, X, Y, and Z's receivers. This is this receiver's top routes in the 2-minute drill. When they gotta have a touchdown, these are his routes that he usually runs to get the ball in the 2-minute drill. And you got to kind of break it down specifically like that throughout the week to be fully prepared to play the game. So, and I compare every week to, you're taking a final exam every single week. And I think if you're not approaching it that way, then you're not giving yourself the best opportunity to go out there and make plays for your team.
Do you find watching film is interesting, exciting, or is it kind of boring, or it just depends? Is it like a chore? Do you think? I'm talking not like as a whole. Like, what do you feel like the mentality is of when, because it could be a little tedious, but I guess at some degree it's kind of fun because you're also knowing like this is how, like I'm going to be like I'm going out. I have a chance to sort of learn or do my best. So like, how do you approach that in terms of being, part of the job? Is it exciting, interesting? Do you love it, hate it? How do you feel about film? And how would you say the overall players feel if you just had to get based on what you kind of hear and see?
Right. Well, it's definitely a necessity. You gotta watch film in order to survive in this league. You just have to, right? So, and like everything, when you do it enough, it does get, it could get monotonous if you let it. But I think that finding the little things in it that will help you watch film is what the specific things that I talked about that that will help you watch film and just be enthused by, hey, like this is the point in the game where I can make an impact play or where I can make a splash play. And so you go and you look at film that way and imagine yourself, right, making that play. Or for me, a lot of the times I'm watching film and I'm putting myself in those situations. Like if this was me, this is how I'm gonna do it. Or I like the way this guy, this other safety or this other corner, I like the way he played that play. I'm gonna think about kind of playing that play kind of the same if I see it this way, in the game. And so yeah, there's a lot of different layers when watching film, but I'd say the general consensus is, everyone knows that you kind of have to do it, but everyone's got a different, way of viewing, watching film.
For sure. How about distractions, friends, family, people like you have in terms of your team? I see you have an agent. I'm sure there's staff to kind of help, do that. But how much of that is, do you find like people maybe come in town for a game, right? Friends and stuff, they want to watch a game, but they understand you gotta do your thing. But like, have you found it distracting at all with the distraction? Also being a professional athlete, right? There's a lot of interest, people trying to get a hold of you. I'm sure girls chasing all these things. Like, how have you kind of managed all this stuff? And are you able to just like block everything out on a weekend? Do you go to a hotel? Like at home, you don't sleep in a hotel the night before a game, or do they? Do they put the team? I think they do, don't they?
Yeah. You do.
Yeah.
You sleep in the team hotel before.
Okay.
But with distractions, I would say the number one thing that they tell you when you come in as a rookie is that you're going to have to learn how to say no and, have those uncomfortable conversations. And they tell you by any means, if you have to say no, whether that's in whatever way that you dress it up as, whether it's, hey, like, it sounds great, but I got to ask my agent, call my agent about it. And then your agent will say no. Or like, hey, sounds great. I would love to do this for you. I would love to, invest in this, or I'd love to support you in this way. But, let me ask my financial advisor about it. And if you want it to be no, the financial advisor will say no. But that's the main thing that, they tell you is be comfortable with saying no, because, at this level, when a lot of your time, if you want to be a good player, a lot of your time is already being demanded. If you're willing to put the work in, that when you do finally have some off time, it's not fair to yourself, right? To stress yourself out and think that you have to be in 1,000 places at once. Obviously, there's going to be, you're going to have family coming in town. You're going to have, if half the guys in the locker room are married with kids, so they got their own family dynamic at the house. And that's, a whole nother conversation in itself, having to go and, go to practice and do this, and that, and then come back and, you still have to be a father. At the end of the day, half the locker room is doing that, right? So I can only imagine, and I don't have a family yet, so I can only imagine how it would be, coming home, and you still, have to be, a father, and still having to dodge, people coming from left and right, asking for this, asking for that, asking for, time, asking for money. And you just got to learn how to, in the best way that you can, man. There's nothing wrong with giving time at all. There's nothing wrong with giving money here and there at all. But, one of the things that I've always held close to me is, you got to learn how to say, no to be able to.
Difficult. It is. It's difficult because especially if you're people that you want to help and that have been there and stuff. But at some point, right, you can't do everything, you can't do it all, and it is difficult. That's a real skill set. So it's good to hear there's some support and help and trying to make sure that everyone's doing their best with that, because that's definitely not easy. I got two more questions, and then I want to go over Shooter. We do have a giveaway on Twitter. We'll try to take some of these. I know. I appreciate again the time. We're going to definitely be linking up soon, man. It'd be nice to meet in person. I got to ask you also about Twitch, man. So Twitch, tell me, you use video games. You like? Is there any that you really like? You stand out that you love to play, and what are your Twitch plans, aspirations?
Okay, so I'm trying to go dive headfirst into Twitch. I love it as a platform, just being able to have an open source, be able to communicate with anyone who wants to be in the room at one time. And I grew up playing video games. With my little brother, we still play video games to this day. I'm, a fully grown man. He's, in college. We're, still playing video games like we were, 10, 15 years ago. So that being said, man, I love playing video games. Right now, I'm a huge Call of Duty guy, huge Warzone guy. There was a phase to where I was all Fortnite. When Fortnite first came out, you couldn't take me away from it. But yeah, like I'm a huge battle royale guy, and that's kind of where I am right now in that world. I will hop on, NBA 2K and Madden. I'll hop on those games every once in a while. If I have those games at the house, if someone wants to come over and hit a quick game, I could work somebody on one of those games. But I'm so big in the battle royale, man, and what some of these games have been able to do with just the whole open battle royale mode. Especially Call of Duty's done a great job with that. So I'd love to jump in head first. I have my Twitch. I have my Twitch account. It's not like set up or anything yet, but as soon as it is, I'm gonna get that to you, so that hopefully, man, you can put that out there, and whoever wants to, join and just, you know, do what we're doing now, right? Talk about life. That's my goal in it. Just talk about life. Talk about sports. Talk about football. Talk about anything. With the people who want it while being able to play video games, something that we all can vouch for and we all love. So that's my vision. Kind of still working on it at the time, but yeah, those are my goals, and just to be able to connect with fans, connect with people who share the same interests that I do.
Do you have a Twitch name yet set up or no? Have you made an account for to stream on or not yet?
Right. I have a Twitch account. I think it is. I don't want to close the app, but I think it's just. I think it's the same as my Instagram and Twitter. So I think it's just Jamal, Jamahl.
Okay.
I believe that is it. I think on Twitch they have you got numbers or something after your name, but
I'm looking. Yeah, I'll it's fun. We'll get it. We'll put it up. I'll definitely, like I said, I'm happy to help, and that's very cool. I know Juju Schuster. He streams. I've popped on a few times and chatted with him before, and I know he does that a fair amount. So is there any guys that you're friends with that that do it that you've kind of in the NFL? Is there some other guys? I know he does it.
Right. So one of my best friends, we were both drafted at the same time, at the same year. One of my best friends, in the league, Amani Owarie. He plays corner for us, number 24.
Nice.
Great friend of mine, and we've been talking about this for a while. And obviously during the season, we kind of wanted to leave it alone and put it on the back burner. But during the off season, that's something that we really wanted to do. Is just do some joint Twitch streams, do some separate Twitch streams, whatever, and just kind of get on there and just vibe, right? And just answer any questions that people may want to know. Just talk about the game, talk about live sports, the whole nine. So
it's fun, right?
He's one of them. I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but I know there's a lot of guys who want to.
It makes a lot of sense because so you have a platform, you have a name, and it's if you're gonna if you love sports, if you love video games and playing and interacting with people, it's just why not build something? That's kind of how I looked at it with poker. I was look, I'm playing online poker, and I like to talk. It's kind of lonely too. If you're sitting there playing a video game all day, now your parents or friends can't say, look, you're doing nothing productive. Because if you're building a brand and you're doing stuff, plus you're having fun, you would do it anyway. Why not do it? Especially if you enjoy it, right? That's the thing. If you like people, you like talking, and it's just kind of fun. So I love to hear that. Definitely let me know if I can help in any way. Be happy to do that, and we'll definitely we'll put it in the video here. Once you have the name, if you send me a message, I'll make sure to add it to show more, and we'll clip that. That'll be fun. Let's I think I got last question I have written down before we'll drive over to the Twitter questions. What special skills or attributes? Oh, and we lost him. I'm going to try to add him back in. Last time I cut the broadcast and messed this up. But anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying. I'm sure Will's going to pop back on here in a second. We had a couple technical difficulties to start. We did get it going. This has been very, very informative for me. I've learned a lot and really enjoy it. I'm enjoying it. Here he goes. We got him back here. Hold on one sec. Let me see. Add to stream. Will, you there? Hello?
A second,
I can hear you. All right, so we're getting Will back here, but like I said, we'll add him on Twitch. We'll make sure that we can do our best.
I'm gonna restart it real quick.
Okay, no worries. We'll get Will back here in a second. But again, guys, he has played in the NFL. He's been in for several years. He's on the Lions. That's my squad: Lions, Ravens, Dolphins, and we're gonna get him back in. See if you can. Can you hear me?
Yep, all good. Sorry about that.
You're
not
good,
sure
man.
what happened.
Listen, trust me, I've been streaming a long time on Twitch. There's going to be, it happens. Technical things go down. It's part of it, man. So no worries at all. I think the last question before I take the Twitter ones I want to know about special skills or attributes that you have that allowed you to make an NFL roster, 40-yard dash, vertical jump, coverage skills. What is stands out for you and that you think that maybe is something that you really excel at, that gives you a competitive advantage over? There's so many, like I said, so hard to get in, man. It's so hard to make one of these rosters on one of these 32 teams. What are some of your best attributes as a player?
To be honest, I think that one of my best attributes is just being able to, line up at, a number of different positions. And that's something that I've always taken great pride in. And that's something that I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to do this year. Battling, when a team battles, injuries, and you got guys down from injury, you got guys down from, unfortunately COVID and stuff like that. I was able to, plug into a number of different positions. Obviously, I got drafted here as a safety, played a lot of safety here, but, then I was, tasked to do the role of nickel. And so I played inside, at the nickel position and was able to, have a lot of fun in that position and really embrace that position as well. And later on down the season, was able to play my last 4 games, at corner. So, it was a blessing to me to be able to display a lot of my attributes and, in that way, just being able to move around positions, and try to play at a high level. I think that's one of the things that I, kind of hang my hat on, is just being someone, who can just go in there and, and play football. I don't really see myself as one specific position. I really, I cross train in the off season. I always have. And, it's the same thing that, I said when I first got drafted here is, hey, whatever you need me to do, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. If that's, play safety, that's play nickel, that's play corner. I'm going to treat it as if I've been doing that, my entire life. And I'm going to treat it no differently than I would, during any other week, playing safety. So
very, very cool. And how was it to reunite with Lions defensive coordinator Paul Pasquale? If I'm pronouncing that right, probably wrong, but I think how many years were you with him at BC, and how cool is that to be there and have him there?
Right. I mean, it was dope, to see a familiar face, especially someone like Coach P. Man, he was with me at BC for, I believe, 2 years at least. It was 2 or 3 years, and and he's got in both college and pro sports, and so just being able to learn from him and pick up some of the things that he was able to teach us in college was really cool, and being able to interact with him and kind of learn from him on the professional side there. Just one, being he was a familiar face, and then 2, just knowing that he's been doing this for a long time, and being able to pick up some of those nuances that I wasn't able to pick up in college, just for the sake of it being in college. There's a certain, there's a different level of his coaching that I was able to experience on the next level. So that was amazing.
Very cool. All right, let's take some Twitter questions here before we get off. A couple on there. There's a lot, so make sure we give Will a follow on his Twitter and Instagram. Which do you prefer more? You look like you got some cool shots here. Do you have a preference on the logo?
I don't have a preference. I get back to I see everything on Twitter. For some reason, I see everything on Twitter. On Instagram, it may be a little harder because they filter everything into the request. But yeah, man, I'm on both of them. I'm active on both of them, and if you want to chat it up a little bit, I'm on both platforms. I'd say equally. So.
I love it. All right, let's do a couple of these because I know we've already been going, man. You're really easy to talk to. Already an hour and a half in. We're definitely going to link up in person, being in the same area for part of the time coming up here. I look forward to that. Tell me, I'm going to get this giveaway kind of loaded up here as we'll pick someone for this $50 giveaway. But in the meantime, let's take a few of these questions kind of rapid fire. Try to get some of these out here, and if anything comes, just shoot off an answer. Which team will win the Super Bowl this year?
That's a great question. Brady's on the roll right now. They've been on the roll. they're pretty consistent, man. They're pretty consistent. So I'd have to give it to them. I'd want Green Bay to at least be in there to represent the NFC North. But I think that Brady's got a shot here, another shot. They've been pretty consistent.
It's
So
getting a
I'm
little
looking at
wild.
that.
Listen, I'm a Michigan fan, born and raised in Ann Arbor. I love Brady. We're married to a Brazilian. I'm married to a Brazilian. Hard not to root for the guy. It's getting a little crazy though, right? I mean, this is honestly, he really. There's no one even. You can't put anything. Have you played against him yet? Have you guys matched up in the seasons or no?
I have. I played in my rookie year, and yeah, he's one of the goats, man. It's you can't deny it. You can't deny it.
You just
Him
got to
being
give
44 and still having the passing title, man, it's just beyond me, man. No one can really explain it. You just got to watch him. So.
Yeah, for sure. It's just one of those things. All right, Clara asks about when I watch football, I get very apprehensive about the intensity. Tell us a little about the physical preparation of an elite athlete because the preparation needs to be phenomenal to withstand so much intensity. I want to add into that about practice versus play, right? You practice, you guys aren't trying to kill each other. Going to game, it's like kind of how can you even practice versus play? Like how do you do that? Because it's not the same getting hit 35 miles an hour running full speed. It's like a car accident. I think I saw a stat where it's literally like getting a 35-mile-an-hour car accident on a lot of these tackles. So how do you practice for that? And what's it like practice versus playing?
Right. I mean, so the first part of that would be, you know what you sign up for, when you play this game. And I think that's the beauty in it is that everyone knows kind of there's an unsaid culture in the game that, hey, this is for a certain type of, person who is willing to do, to put his body under, this amount of intensity. And then, in practice, practice is a little bit the same as the game. You just take the contact out, right? So in practice, you're full speed all the way up until contact, then you shut it down. So full speed, and then you shut it down. And so you do that all week, kind of preparing your body and prepping your body all through the week. And then, on Sunday, hey, Sunday is the players' day. You just let it rip. And so it's the same thing you've been doing in practice. So you go full speed, and then on Sunday you get to just let it rip, and you don't have that governor on you kind of pulling you back because of being in practice. So
very cool. Do you have any gambling stories with teammates? Like any games on the plane, high, low, or just 50-50s? Is there any of that? Either if you can't share names, maybe between you or do other players, you witness some crazy stories like some bets or, obviously not on the sports side, or just like on the side of like maybe poker. Do some of the guys play poker that you know of, or do you know of any crazy games within the NFL on the teams? Because I hear stories, especially in the NBA, that I've read like crazy. It's very common. Do you know any of these, or do you have anything you could share without giving names?
Yeah, without giving names, man, I've seen some of my older colleagues with means by which to do so. I've seen some pretty significant losses at the said, and that's one of the things I had to learn is that I've also seen those same guys have some pretty significant gains at the casino. So one thing that I kind of learned from that is especially being new to money in my rookie year, I was like, hey man, it obviously takes money to make money in the casino, man. But so I've seen some pretty crazy losses. I think I've seen I've seen someone lose upward of 100,000 before, and I've also seen someone upwards of 100,000, and it was those same people. So that's not necessarily I'm definitely not there yet. My mom would definitely not approve. But hey, if you're gaining it, and that's definitely something. If I was gaining consistent, be doing that because once you're gaining that amount, in the casino, you're good enough to be able to, make that much profit. Then obviously at some point you're gonna take some losses, but I think it's all in the fun of the game.
The one thing I'll say about that is, listen, if you enjoy card games and these type of games, like I'm happy to help you or take a little time to learn poker, because you actually can control like when you put your money in and the spots and the math and stuff, and you can actually be a significant favorite. Of course, I'm always saying gamble responsibly. I'm not saying you should pick up poker as a hobby, but a caveat like blackjack, which is actually one of the neutralist, not crazy edge in the casino, but like let's take roulette, for example, that particular game, you're actually on a 00 wheel. Do you know what minus EV you have? It's set. Like every spin, there's a set minus percent you're losing every spin you make. So of course you could win 20 rolls in a row, but like the actual math, have you ever looked at what it is in roulette? Like if let's say you bet $100, do you guess how much you're losing on every spin of roulette you play for $100?
Oh man.
In EV. So like just say a percent.
Yeah. Sheesh. That you're losing?
Yeah. So like it doesn't matter. Like your expected value, EV, every time the wheel spins, there's a set percent you're supposed to lose. Of course, you could win over one spin or 100 or even 1,000. It's possible, but like you're actually set the math on what every spin, because there's 36 numbers, okay, and there's 2 zeros. So there's 38 possible results, and you're only getting paid 35 to 1. Okay. So like if you roll like if there was no zeros and they paid you 36 to 1, there would be 0 EV. It would just be a neutral bet. Like you're supposed to win 1 out of 36, you would, but because of the zeros, that's why if you ever see a single zero, it's actually much better, because you're getting 35 to 1 out of 37 instead of 35 to 1 out of 38. So it's significantly different. So I'll just tell you, it's 5.4%. You're losing every spin you make on a roulette wheel. So if you go and you sit down, you're in Vegas, go to the Aria, shout out to Aria, love the Aria, and you bet $1,000 on a roulette, you're losing $54 just every time. Doesn't matter what. You can write it off as that. You can just say, I'm losing 54. That's why they give comps based on how much you're playing. They have a formula similar to blackjack. And I'll just tell you, blackjack's not a good game either unless they're counting cards. All these games, they're fun. It's cool, but you should look at it as entertainment, because craps, roulette, blackjack, all these games, like obviously that's how the casinos are built. It is what it is. But like as in poker, if you go to a poker at a casino, they don't care if you win or lose. They take their set fee and they go crazy. They're happy you win or lose. They don't care. Whereas in roulette or blackjack and these other games, it's not the case, because that's how they make their money, pay the employees, turn the lights on. It's an entertainment, but you're supposed to lose. Now, of course, you go to the casino, you could win on the day or whenever, but like you have a negative advantage every time you're playing. Just a heads up. I don't mean to go on there and let you know.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. We definitely need to. I definitely need to get my my poker game up.
Whatever. Sure. It's just fun. It's fun to learn a little. It's a cool game. I'm happy. We'll definitely do a bit of that. Happy to chop it up and talk and show you some things. But anyway, that's. You looks like you got a good head on your shoulders on that, and respect and realize. It's like an entertainment thing. You're not going crazy in there, and that's important to have discipline. And to be a professional athlete, the highest level, you got to have that. You got to be showing up, be on time, do your thing, watch the film. There's all these attributes that you already have that are great. But of course, you got to be careful too, because the casino can be too fun and dangerous. So it looks like you're well aware of that. All right, a couple more, and then we'll do this giveaway. Mood for 2022. How are you feeling? It's a nice, clean, even number, 2022. What's going on? What are you thinking, man? New year. What's the mood for you?
New year, man. Especially coming off the way that we came off the season last year, man. I without football, man, I'm revitalized. Looking forward to everything that this season has to offer. New opportunities. Everywhere, not considering football, but, putting football into the equation, man, obviously can't wait, for the next season. Obviously, we're going to take some time off, bring it back in, decompress, and, get ready to, reload, man, get ready to, go back at it. So 2022, man, is going to be a great year. It's going to be a super fun year. It's going to be a very, very dope, very fun year to be, in the city of Detroit. It's gonna be full of life, man, and I can't wait.
I love it. I got back. I usually get back around Thanksgiving. I know Lions they always have that Thanksgiving game. I'm gonna come check you out at a live game. I haven't been to a Lions game in a few years. I'm definitely gonna come to a game. I would love to watch. So I'm gonna be definitely sending you a message and coming that way next year. So I do look forward to it. I got a good feeling for the Lions, man. I feel like they're gonna have a good season. Sure. It just feels like the momentum is going the right way. Very, very cool. Let's see. Let's take one more here. Tell me a little about where you grew up. How was your growing up in Suwanee? Am I pronouncing that right?
Suwanee.
Suwanee.
Yep. Yeah. So, Suwanee was cool, man. It was, When we first moved to Atlanta, we were on the south side of the city. We were in Hateville area, next to East Point, in Atlanta. So uh, we were, you know, I was still very young at that time, but we ended up moving to Gwinnett County up by Sewanee, and the school to go to was in that region was North Gwinnett, and North Gwinnett had a history of being a top dog, a powerhouse for football. So that whole town really embraced us as um, really embraced the football team. So it's kind of one of those like Friday night light feels to where you go to like the local diner and like they like, hey, what's up? We're like, hey, good game, like this and that. You go in the barbershop, like, or you go in the barbershop after a loss, and it's like all you can hear about is that freaking loss in the barber because everyone knows it's a very sports enthused town. So
Very cool.
that was it was dope. It was dope growing up there, and
That's got to be cool too. Your dad
right
played in
north
the
of the
NFL,
city.
right? So people know,
Yep.
like, that's pretty sweet. That's
Yeah.
got to be pretty cool. What teams did he play for, or one?
Right. He played for Jacksonville, which is actually where I was born. He met my mother, who had just came from Florida State. He met my mother in Jacksonville. She was working in Jacksonville at the time, and he was playing there. And yeah, I was born in Jacksonville.
Very cool.
So yeah, he played in Jacksonville and then in Buffalo as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about college football.
Mhm.
Do you feel affiliated? Like, how strong are you to the BC? Like, Michigan had a great year, 2021 MSU and U of M, both having won 12 games. On the Lions per se, do the players continue to stay wired to the college team? Do you get emotionally involved? Are you, like, on Saturday, are you watching college football and checking in, or is it, how is it for you? Do you stay in touch with the college?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, big time. That's a huge like every Saturday, man. It's a thing. It's a thing, especially when guys former teams play each other,
Oh yeah,
and
I
like
bet.
like one of my teammates, Austin Bryant, he plays DN for us, and he went to Clemson. So
Mm.
every time we play Clemson, we're always like, you're just talking trash the whole morning. There's
Nice.
guys like you got all type of bets going on. You
Yep.
got like, and then on the Monday, you'll see guys who went to like you can see guys who went to Alabama in full LSU gear because maybe LSU won. So
Yep.
like you got all types of bets like, hey, if my team wins, you got to dress in all LSU gear for the whole year. So like things like that, man. It's just like it's crazy, man, because
Is
we're
there any
all
more obnoxious than others, like snot, like Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame? Is there any ones that just like a little too much, that like take it too far? Or is there any someone that stands out to you?
Hey, man, we got guys who went to Michigan. We got guys who went to Ohio State, so that's always a
Hmm.
thing. The Notre Dame guys, like we got Notre Dame guys in the locker room that just seem to like, because Notre Dame doesn't belong to any, real conference, right? So they're just into it with everybody, right? They're just into it with Big Ten teams, into it with ACC teams, every week. Um, we got the whole Georgia Florida thing going on. We got and it's
All right,
crazy, man. It's
you got
crazy.
the full deal. It's alive. It's
Yeah,
definitely a thing.
you got
People
guys
follow
from
it along.
everywhere, man.
Love it. All right, last question. Favorite stadium you've played at so far? Of course, the very nice Ford Field.
Ooh.
The Lions. It's got a great newish facility. I think 2006 the Super Bowl was there, and it's
Hmm.
been pretty new, updated stadium. Give me the one you've played at though in the NFL. What's the most favorite one you've gone to that's not at home?
I'd say, whew, off the top of my head, I would say, I would say Atlanta. And just as far as the stadium alone, I'll say first, as far as the stadium alone, I'd say Atlanta, number one, because I was able to come home and play, hometown. That was great. That was dope. And the stadium, they've done a really good job with that stadium. The stadium's dope. And it's 5 minutes away from my house. I can literally
Oh
almost see it
wow,
from my
that's
house, from my parents' house in Atlanta.
that's amazing.
Yeah, so that was dope. And then, to be honest, Denver Stadium, man, and um, it being so high in elevation, you always wanted to know like what's that about, and you find out during warm-ups that it's very much real. That whole elevation thing, man. You're like you kind of get you're kind of gassed, man. You're like, why am I? You forget about the elevation, and then you're working out pregame, and you're like, why am I? I only did like a couple of like high knees and a couple of like jogs. Why am I gassed right now? And so
That's
you
crazy.
get
That's got
that.
to be an advantage for them too, right? For them not
Yeah.
only to play the course, but like even just everywhere else being in better shape and fitness. Because I know like the U.S. Olympic teams, they train there, Colorado Springs, and there's definitely something to that elevation. So I'm sure the Broncos always got a little extra. They're a little extra gassed up. So that's interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting
man.
to hear that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm sure that's worked into the spreads and all that. People know that the home field there is a thing. So, all right. Last thing here I'm going to ask you to do is choose a winner. We did have a $50 giveaway for everyone who engaged. We can't get to all the questions. I'm sure he'll take a look. He is tagged in there. Maybe he'll answer a few on the side, but we did get to some of those. We covered a lot. Really, really enjoyable, man. I appreciate it. And you tell me when, and someone's going to win the $50 giveaway.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
You ready?
Yep.
All right, boom, there we go. So we're gonna choose a winner. 75 potential. I don't know, it's better than 1% chance. And my man right there, he got it done. It is
we
got Tanny Adenar who won it. So getting $50 cash, not a bad way to start the year. Good luck to you, whatever they do with it. Look, he's won again. Some people win multiple things, man. There's luck involved in life, man. It's luck is when preparation meets opportunity. He was prepared. He did the directions. He asked a question, and now he's got some money. So I appreciate that. And yeah, man, Will, thank you so much. This was a real pleasure. Thank you for coming on, and let's definitely link up very soon. We'll grab dinner. I told you about that charity event, and we'll talk off stream, and I'll definitely help you with Twitch as much as I can.
No doubt, man. Thanks for having me, man. It was a pleasure, bro, chopping up with you. So
cheers,
brother.
Forward
to it, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Thanks again.
No doubt, my man. Appreciate you, bro.
All right, have a good one. All right, guys,
yes,
that's Will Harris, number 160 in the books, Detroit Lions safety. He's young, he's hungry, he's motivated, and you can tell he's got a good head on his shoulders. I got big plans for him. I think he's going to crush it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll have some more big podcasts coming up. Anton Ferdinand, we just had at 159. Please hit the like button. Tell me what you thought of the podcast, and we'll see you for many more to come. Appreciate you guys. Happy 22, and we'll see you soon.